So the question today comes from Donna G. And she said, my friend is always having money problems. Can you explain why some people can't manage money as well as money problems we may not know and should avoid? So I think that's a good question. I think it's really interesting that the one thing I would encourage you to do, and just at least give this some thought, is that what we focus on expands. So if we're focusing in on problems, we may get more of them. I think it's good to know like some of the problems you could run into, and we're going to cover those today to address your question because I think a lot of people don't even think about it. But what I want you to do, and I encourage you to do, is to focus in on what you want and focus in on what you're doing right and look at that. Now, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't learn from some of the things we're talking today, but I do encourage you to at least consider the option of looking at what you want versus what you don't want. Now, I'm an expert at this because I grew up focusing in on anything I didn't want. I had no idea the power of focusing on what we want. I've seen over and over again the impact of it. So I just encourage you to entertain that and see if it can work for you. Now, if you have a question you want answered, you can go to themillionaireinsider.com/WIOP-ask. Hi, I'm Annette Bau, host of the Wealth Inside and Out podcast and founder of the Millionaire Insider. My mission is to help you simplify the money game so you can create a financially secure and fulfilled life without having to have a PhD or spend countless hours on your finances. You're going to learn how to think like a millionaire, stop worrying about money and wondering if your financial house is truly in order, and instead spend your time doing what you love. With over 3 decades advising 7, 8, and even 9-figure millionaires, and now joining that elite group, I'm in a unique position to help you make the best financial choices so you can create a secure financial future and retirement you love. This is the Wealth Inside and Out podcast. So have you ever wondered how someone could have $1 million? Maybe they acquire it, they inherit it, they win it, and then lose it within a few years? Or how up to 95% of lottery winners are broke within 5 years? Why is it that some people can never accumulate money regardless of what they do, and others seem to just retain wealth so easily? A few years into my career advising millionaires, I became fascinated because I would see people with money who had money problems. Now, you always think people that don't have money problems, but there are millionaires that have a lot of money problems. They have money and then they don't. So that's a complete misconception. Some could manage their money with so much ease and others just could not seem to retain it. They would make millions and lose it. They would accumulate some money and then they'd have something happen in their life. So it got me thinking, was this just luck of the draw or are there actual things happening? I've just seen over and over again where people get money and then they lose it. The saying goes that if you can't handle $1, you can't handle 1,000 or 100,000 or 1,000,000. It's interesting that there are so many people that struggle with money, even financial advisors. It's amazing how many financial advisors have money problems. But in today's episode, I share insights so that you can not only amass money, but retain it, ultimately create a financially secure life you love. So if you need help on your next best financial step, you can go to themillionaireinsider.com/NSF. Today's free resource is our retirement plan checklist. You can go to themillionaireinsider.com/RPC. This checklist is really important with what we're talking about today, making sure you have enough money, because it gives you a guideline of all the different factors that go into determining when you can retire, how much you can afford to spend, things that you haven't even thought about. We have taken probably collective of about 75 years to create this with all of the advisors that had input on it. And it's amazing the insights you're going to get by going through that checklist. So again, you can go to themillionaireinsider.com/RPC. This guide is really the first step to help you create a plan so you don't have to worry about running out of money. So I encourage you to download it. All materials and intellectual property are copywritten by themillionaireseries.com. The information we provide is for educational purposes only. It is not intended to replace any advisor or provide any investment, financial, tax, retirement, or any planning or healthcare advice. For today's show notes, you can go to themillionaireinsider.com/64. So let's dive into some of the common money problems. Obviously, the situations are going to vary depending on the individual, but some common ones that can affect you at any age are these. And they're not necessarily in order. That said, some of them are more important, I think, because they have a domino effect. And the first one is lack of financial literacy. I was just last night, we were at dinner with friends, and the wife was a reading literacy expert. In fact, they had a nonprofit. I said, it's so interesting. I'm so fascinated by that because at least now they're starting to do more when people are illiterate, meaning they can't read or write. And it's kind of a topic that's near and dear to my heart because my father only had an eighth grade education and he was not great at reading or writing. And he basically taught himself how to read and he became a voracious reader. I mean, amazing. He loved to read. I mean, it's so, gosh, I think back on his handwriting and in his grammar, it was so bad. He was so adamant that we get educated. And I can remember I was a freshman in college. I'm not sure if I'd yet decided I was going to do a degree in finance. I was in college and I just hated it. And I'm like, I just want to quit. I just want to go out and make money. And he's like, you can't. He said, you are so lucky that you have the option to go and get educated. I would give anything to have been able to get educated, but they couldn't afford it. And he ended up becoming a plumber. And then my parents owned real estate and they were very innovative, but he just was not educated and he was adamant. And I can remember I was so mad at him and I was so upset. And I look back on it, I think, oh my gosh, I am so lucky that he made me do that just because it has helped me. And I mean, especially with what I went into, not every profession needs it, but what I went into, you really do. And so getting a degree in finance and then becoming a financial planner was a very good course of action. But many people lack the knowledge and skills they need to effectively manage their finances. This can lead to devastating mistakes, such as poor investments, falling victim to scams, and failing to take advantage of opportunities that can improve your overall financial well-being. So start learning. I mean, congratulations for listening to this podcast. Go to our blog at themillionaireinsider.com/blog. We have so many resources there. It's just a wealth of information as far as becoming more financially literate. You're never going to regret it. You're never going to go, oh, I wish I didn't know about all this money stuff. It'll help you your entire life. So please make number one a priority. The second one is debt. And it just is amazing to me how many people I still hear justifying why they have debt. Sometimes you have to have debt. I understand that. But the reality of it is living debt-free, especially for women, is priceless. And I've just seen this for the last 35 years, probably even longer than that. For women, it gives them security. Now, the interesting issue is that people are affected by debt in a variety of different ways, and it can be a real major issue. If you have credit card debt, you have consumer debt. Some people have huge student loans. Other people have mortgages or other loans. And the problem with having a high debt load is it leads to financial stress, and it can make it very difficult to achieve your financial goals. If you have the excess debt and you can't get it under control, I strongly urge you to get support from a qualified money coach, a financial advisor, or even a therapist. The interesting thing about debt and about spending money is a lot of that is caused by an out of control primal brain. And the latest research shows that whether your out of control behavior is overeating, it's over drinking, overspending, maybe sex, gambling, it doesn't really matter what it is, it's a problem. Now, some of us get our dopamine hit from hiking, doing yoga, smelling jasmine flowers. I could just sit and smell jasmine flowers for like ever. I was laughing the other day because my husband and I go on morning walks. And it was so funny. We're on our walk and I picked a little jasmine and I was like, he goes, God, you're like so happy. I'm like, if I would have known when I didn't have money that the highlight would be in my life when I do have money, just picking a beautiful little jasmine flower and smelling it, I would have just laughed to death because, I'm like, oh, it'd be so nice when I have different houses. I can travel anywhere. boy, things change when you have money. But anyway, my point being is if you have debt, you got to get it under control. And you got to understand that anytime you have an unhealthy dopamine hit, meaning one that's wreaking havoc or will likely wreak havoc in your life, you got to do something about it. One of our friends had some financial struggles. In fact, there's a couple of them. It was actually friends of our children. It was so fascinating. They're sharing with me that one of them lost their job and they had no money. And this was what was so interesting is that, and I just know this through another friend, they finally got a job and they were right back at it. They overextended themselves on a new house. They both got new cars. I mean, it was just like nothing sunk in from that experience. Let it be easy. Don't make it hard. Don't make it to the point where you have to file bankruptcy or where you lose everything to have to experience that. And then to go through that again, you're like, what? The problem they're finding is that if you don't heal that, you don't create new neural pathways, you're either going to repeat it or you're going to replace it with a different addiction. So something to really be aware of. 3 is living beyond our means. And it ties so much into our primal brain, looking like we have money. Spending more money than you earn is such a common problem, and it can lead to that. It can lead to not having enough savings and financial instability. Marital problems. One of the biggest cause of marital problems is living beyond your means. And one partner is so focused on living beyond their means. I see people that they're like, they don't really know why they don't have any money. But then when they start tracking it, common ones are travel, eating out, even groceries, and especially now that groceries are so high. But it's things that you're like, oh, well, it was only $30 or only $40. But it's like, okay, it was $40. How many times a week are you doing that? Oh, like 4. Okay, that's 160. 320 is 6 times 2 is what? 640. I mean, it adds up really quickly. So you've got to be aware of that. The other thing that's really important when it comes to living beyond your means is that a lot of people that do not believe they can enjoy their life now and create a financially secure life they love for the future. And so you just got to be aware of that because I find it so fascinating. People who truly believe that you either have to enjoy it now or you have to live in misery so you can enjoy it later. And what's so interesting is people say, well, I want to enjoy my life now. Well, that's good. Hopefully, every one of you wants to enjoy your life now, but you want to enjoy it now and in the future. You don't have to choose, like, I'm either going to enjoy it now or in the future. And once you start identifying things you enjoy that don't require money, it changes everything. Number 4 is insufficient savings. Many individuals struggle to save money for emergencies or retirement or other financial goals. Without adequate savings or having unexpected expenses or even changes in your circumstance, like you lose your job or you get demoted. One of the companies has cut salaries 10% for the last 3 years. Those things can lead to financial devastation and hardship. So you've got to be aware of it. When you don't have money for emergencies, little issues often wreak havoc on our retirement. And there's just nothing fun about struggling when you're working or struggling when you're retired. And then number 5 is poor financial planning. Now, when we don't have a spending plan or a financial plan, it can result in an ineffective and inefficient use of our money, as well as missed opportunities of things that we could invest in if we had money. Without a clear plan, it's so easy to lose track and start overspending and neglect those important financial goals. And before you know it, you're in retirement and you're like, we don't have any money. I mean, I was listening to someone recently. I was just like, not that I'm eavesdropping, but like somebody like right behind me in the booth is talking. And she's like, yeah, we're going to retire. And I'm so excited. And the woman was talking to her. She's like, yeah, well, we have $100,000. And I'm sitting here going, what is she thinking? Like, I don't know how old she was. She sounded like she's probably in her 50s, maybe 60s. I'm thinking, okay, $100,000. Let's just say she was in her 60s. And let's just say she needed $10,000 a year from that. All right, so what? You're going to earn some money on it, but what? What's going to last you 12 years, 13 years? I'm like, what are you going to do after that? I was just, I had all I could do not to say, can I help you? It would have been very inappropriate. But the point being is that those things can be devastating. Now, when you create your financial plan, you want to have a retirement plan, an insurance plan, and a tax and estate plan, all of those, because all of those can dramatically impact your money. And you want to make sure that not only you create it, but then you implement it and update it. I see people that have created a financial plan and they think they're done, but in reality, you got to keep at it. And the other thing I think, and this is something that just really frustrates me, is that there are advisors that call themselves financial planners, and they will do an initial financial plan, but they don't follow up on it. You've got to have a financial plan that you are updating, because when you don't update it, things happen, they fall through the cracks, and can be devastating, absolutely devastating. Not only do you oftentimes find assets that have been forgotten, or you can find assets that are not coordinated with your estate plan. There's just, the laundry list goes on and on. So some things to be aware of. So let's look at a few other money problems that can add financial stress. Not managing debt and getting it paid off. Using credit cards to pay your bills. Not paying off debt with high interest rates. Ignoring financial problems when you see them. Or ignoring your spendthrift partner. We talk about in Financial Infidelity, which I'll link to it in the show notes, about how devastating financial infidelity is. And it happens all the time. In fact, after that episode, I had so many people make comments of saying, that happened to my parents, or that happened to one of my friends. It happens a lot. The key is really having those money rules before you get married or you enter into a partnership where you're mixing your money. Before you ever mix your money, you want to make sure that you and your partner are on the same path. I can't tell you who to love. I can tell you that for me, even as much as I love my husband, if he were a spendthrift and he was not good with his money, it would have never even been a consideration. Other things I see are buying a house that's too expensive, not gauging your financial situation, both in the short term and the long term, only having one source of income, or ignoring mental health problems such as overspending. Those are just some of the most common ones. There you have it. Now let's recap on money problems that can affect you at any age. There's nothing fun about money problems, and they can snowball from a minor issue to a major issue. By taking the time to create a plan and a spending plan and really start gauging where you are, you can't help but improve. Become financially literate. Avoid excess debt. Live within your means. Save more than you need. Make savings a priority. And then make sure and take the time to create that proper plan. You're going to be so glad you did. All right, I'll look forward to seeing you on our next episode. If you love the content of this podcast, please follow and subscribe to our channel so you get notified of episodes, and also give us a 5-star review and share a comment. We really appreciate it. Congratulations on taking another step to create a financially free life you love. If you're not sure about your financial future, or that it's in order, or you are ready to stop worrying about money, or possibly the fear of becoming a bag lady, ending up broke in retirement, or you simply are ready to know your financial house is in order so that you can have a bright financial future, please go to themillionaireinsider.com/NSF. And that doesn't stand for non-sufficient funds. It stands for Next Step Finance. It's the next best step of what you need to do so you can avoid an NSF notice in your future. Again, themillionaireinsider.com/NSF. The number of women who were not broke or poor while working or married is staggering. The entire mission of the Wealth Inside and Out podcast is to ensure you have the information for you, your family, your friends, anyone who's willing to listen to it and apply it so that you can create a financially free life you love. Again, themillionaireinsider.com/NSF. Until our next episode, take one action that will help you create a financially free life you love. I'm Annette Ba'u, your host. All international copyrights are reserved. Bye for now.